So if you've been following my channel since last spring, you may have realized that I did a review of Duel Deck's Blessed vs. Cursed, and that was a completely disastrous duel deck. What was once a very enjoyable packaged product has now kind of become, well, kind of a downer just because there really aren't that many sought after cards, or cards that are truly playable for standard. Because I didn't feel like the cards in that duel deck were really necessary to my collection or the decks that I needed, I completely passed on that duel deck, and I gave it a pretty unsatisfactory review. However, someone at Wizards may have heard my complaints about the duel decks not having sought after cards, constructed playable cards, standard playable cards, or planeswalkers in general, as they have returned with duel decks Nissa versus Nixilis. This reiteration of the series returns to the format of having planeswalkers. And it's quite exciting because I don't think we've had one of these for quite some time. At least I can't really remember. I think the last one we had was Elspeth versus Kiora, and that was quite a while ago. Now, I just want to say that I actually have not seen the list for these, even though I'm sure they've been spoiled all over the internet, so I'm actually going to be surprised as to what most of the cards in this duel deck feature. So let's dive into this product and find out if the cards inside of it are worth your time, money, and make up for the bad duel decks that have come out in recent memory. Okay, so here is the duel decks Nissa versus Nixilis, the Battle for Zendikar themed duel deck, which came out originally. Battle for Zendikar, the set, came out in the winter or fall of 2015, and this is I guess, following the tradition of having a duel deck of a past themed set. It's happened for Elspeth Kiora, Sorin, and Tybalt. And now Wizards has decided to keep up this tradition with Nissa and Nixilis. So far, I'm happy I get my Planeswalkers. Yay. But as for the rest of the cards, let's open up this pack and see what's inside. You can see it has the traditional format, or I guess you can say it's the newer format of the duel decks. So let's take a look. I'm never a big fan of opening these because they just have such awkward packages. But this is, I believe, how you open it. Yep, there you go. Alright. And I believe it just slides up, and I believe the Planeswalkers are actually free. And we get some sweet dice here, which come if you want to battle these decks together. Some nice dice. Both have the Planeswalker symbol on them, which is nice. Neat if you need more D20s. The duel decks and the separate Planeswalker cards, which are separate from the duel deck. These are really sweet art for both of the Planeswalkers, and these are pretty good Planeswalkers. I've had a use for both of these in the past, and they're pretty sweet. Now, while I do like both of these Planeswalkers very much, I think I'm going to start with Nissa's deck, just because I think Nixilis may have the bigger goodies, but I could be wrong on that. I'm just taking a stab here. So let's start with Nissa's deck. Of course, we have Nissa herself, great for making plant tokens, puts counters on your horde of creatures, and her ultimate is basically kind of a green Sphinx's Revelation, which is pretty darn sweet. So let's dig into Nissa's deck. See, an Abundance, that's a classic card. We'll start out with that. Abundance is basically, it's just kind of I guess we could say a draw filter to make sure you hit your land drops. Not a bad card. I do think there are better things that could give you potential better value, and sadly it's not playable in Modern, and I don't really know why this card is in here, because it's not really from Zendikar. Cloud Thresher, which is a classic card from Lorwyn, another card that has nothing to do with Zendikar. Or on Reef Hydra, something I'm not too fancy about. I think there could have been better replacements for this. This is also, I think, no, it's a Zendikar card, I guess, so I guess it's just trying to be flavorful. Thought it was from Theros. Thicket Elemental. This is a card from Invasion. I forget what it does. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, it costs 3 and a green, kicker is 1 and a green. You may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. If you do, put that card into the battlefield and shuffle all their cards revealed this way into your library. Ooh, wow, that's pretty good. Especially if you play an EDH deck with a lot of big bombs, I think I can see this being played there. So that's pretty uncommon creature that I don't think too many people would have thought of playing. That's interesting. Mosswort Bridge sees some play sometimes. You do need to have a really big creature in order to make the best of it, so it's essentially good if you run really big stuff. Honestly, this deck seems like it's based off of pretty big things, but I don't really see too many big things here. Scythe Leopard's a pretty sweet card. If you, it's arguably kind of like a Wild Nacatl at times with a fetch land and constructed, but oftentimes Wild Nacatl is just plain better, but it's still not a bad card. You definitely can see some constructed play. Another Scythe Leopard. Elvish Visionary for some nice card draw and cantripping for green. Another Elvish Visionary. Oran Reef Evoker, I think this was one of the wacky cards from Rise of the Eldrazi, which gave you a wacky ability for 8 mana. Thornwield Archer, a reach death touch creature, good for trading with things if you need it. Nissa's Chosen, that would be nice with Nissa Rivane, the original Nissa, but it's not there. Sedano Wood Readers gets you more cards. I think green is having all these nice card drawing cards in this deck just so it can keep up with black. I'm sure black will probably have lots of card drawing for life payment, as Nixilis works that way. Civic Warfare, which is basically Borderland Ranger. Fertilid, which I believe fetches basic lands. Yes, it does. Wood Elves is a classic from the core sets of days of old. Still a pretty good card, and it still sees some play on EDH to this day. Briarthorn is the Evoke Pump spell. Not really something I rely on too much, but I don't think it's horrible. Hey, it's Saddleback Lagak. It's not a terrible card. Actually can see some nice value. Don't really see it played in constructed very much, but still can give you some nice power advantage. Woodborn Behemoth becomes an 8/8 if you have 8 lands. Another one, so I guess this is the big creature if you play these decks head-to-head if you want to find a Woodborn Behemoth. A 5/7 Vigilance Trample Treefolk. Walker of the Grove, which is an evoke creature. Can give you either a 4/4 elemental token or a 7/7, which will give you a 4/4. Crop Rotation, which is actually a card that's played in Legacy to this day, and it's pretty sweet if you know how to use your deck. Usually it's in decks that revolve around lands. Pump Spell gives this creature reach, finds the Recluse. Seems to really like that one. I guess there must be some flying creatures in the Nixilis deck. And here's Gaia's Blessing, which is a really great card to counter mill. I'm actually a big fan of this card, and also has some sweet art by Rebecca Gay. I'm a big fan of this. I've always loved this card. This card's amazing. Natural Collection, which is instant speed, rampant growth. See the Horizon, which gets you a lot of hand advantage, basically guarantees you hit your land drops. Fertile Thicket, which is, I believe, a card from Battle for Zendikar, it basically guarantees that you hopefully hit your land drop. Khalni Garden, which is nice, it gives us extra plants and extra blockers if we need it. Has seen some play in Constructed Magic before, and it's a pretty sweet card. Hey, a Treetop Village, that's always sweet. I know this is played in modern Jund decks, and it's actually a pretty solid card. It's been around forever, played in several different decks, and sees play in almost every constructed format. It's pretty nice. And the rest, I believe, are just forests. And they're pretty sweet forests. I'm actually a big fan of these forests. You have the classic, some of the classic Zendikar forests, and some plant tokens, and one elemental. And now it is time for the dual deck of Ob Nixilis Reignited. So starting out, we have Desecration Demon. This thing was a real menace in Standard back in the mono black decks. He's pretty bulky, and he's got a really big stats, 6/6 for 4, but your opponent can make him can sack creatures whenever he attacks to make him bigger, but he has to wait another turn before he attacks, basically. So he's okay. He hasn't seen a whole lot of play in Modern, but I don't think he is completely out of the picture. I think in the right deck, I think he could have a home, potentially. The Spoiler of Souls, I believe this card was from Magic Origins. Kind of like I guess you could say a Bloodghast in a sense, but nowhere near as good. Indulgent Tormentor, which is a big ugly demon from, I think, M15. This is not really what I was expecting right at the moment, but I'm just getting into the deck. Got probably this demon to go flavor-wise with the demon Planeswalker. Pestilence Demon. So it looks like we're getting a demon deck here. This demon is basically a pestilence on demons, so it's pretty flavorful in that regard, but it's also flavorful because it's a demon. Priest of the Bloodrite, which gives you a demon. I was a fan of this card when it came out. I thought it had some potential in Standard, but honestly, I'm not as excited as it is now, or not as hyped up about it now. Carrier Thrall, this is interesting. I think this is from Battle for Zendikar. I've never really seen this played very much, but it looks like it's kind of an inverse Nest Invader in a sense, which can be good if you have like a lot of sack outlets and whatnot. Blister Grub, remember that from Scars of Mirrodin. I guess this is Nixilis' pet. Giant Scorpion, this card was originally from the Zendikar block. Just trades with anything. I think it was remade a couple times. Cadaver Imp's actually not terrible. It can actually become a raised dead if you kill it somehow, so it's actually nice with a sack outlet and makes a decent jump blocker. It seems like Nixilis really likes scorpions. We get another scorpion, and gets rid of weenies. This figure's a nice card. This sees some play in Constructed Magic. Innocent Blood sees play in Legacy Pox. It's a nice card. Gets around Hex per creature, Shroud creatures, that crowd. Myra's Toll. I would have liked to see like an Inquisition of Kozilek here in this slot, but you can't have everything. Doomblade. You can't destroy your own creatures, but I really do like this Doomblade art, although I don't think it's quite as good as the one with the angel on it. It's still pretty sweet though. Get two of them, that's pretty cool. Grim Discoveries was a pretty good value card back in the day, back in Zendikar Standard. It does get you a lot of value, potentially 2 cards from your graveyard. Shadow of the Past is interesting. This is a card I've always kind of wanted to brew with, but I never really had the space or the right synergies to go with it perfectly. Hey, Smallpox! It seems like we're having a Pox holiday, as a lot of cards from the Pox deck and Legacy are in this deck, and we got another Smallpox, so we had Innocent Blood and Smallpox. That's pretty cool. And Hallowed Pact is a wacky reanimator spell. Seems like it's easy to counter because it happens way before the creature actually comes back into play. Hideous End, I thought Hideous End was amazing when I first saw like the text, like, oh my gosh, it's Doomblade and it loses 2 life, but honestly I think Doomblade has seen more play than it, just because of versatility. Ambition's Cost, which seems like a kind of a, what's it called, Ancient Craving, which is cool. Ancient Cravings are nice. Tendrils of Corruption is always sweet in mono black decks. It's just ridiculous, gives you so much life, kills damn near anything, and it's pretty good. Demon's Grasp, which is kind of a wacky kill spell. Leechrin Swamp, which is from the Lorwyn block. And I believe it's just swamps. We have Eldrazi Scions, Demons, Zombie Giants, and his emblem, which is really, really cool. And that was the contents of Duel Decks Nissa versus Nixilis. I actually did have a reason for getting this. I actually did want the Planeswalkers, but honestly, I didn't know what else was in the deck, which is kind of funny. I just really needed the Planeswalkers for something, which may seem kind of a weird blind purchase, but actually I'm not too unhappy with this. I actually like this duel deck quite a bit. It has a lot of nice cards, and cards I've actually been looking for. I actually have been looking for the Pox pieces, which is really cool. Considering the Planeswalkers are about $10 each, this isn't a terrible buy. However, I will say if you do need a full set of the Planeswalkers, then you're probably better off buying those. Overall, I think I'm going to give this duel deck maybe a 3.2. It's definitely worth it if you play Standard and you need like 1 copy of one of the Planeswalkers, because you get a lot of value out of it. In addition to that, you get a lot of playability, ideas for other decks, and potentially other cards that people may need, like the Fox creatures. If you only need 1 Planeswalker, you could trade it for something else, etc., etc. However, I think in the long run, once Battle for Zendikar leaves Standard, I don't think it's going to be worth that much anymore. There's really not too much aside from that, but if you need the Planeswalkers, it's not a terrible purchase at the moment. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, as everyone deserves to have the knowledge of Magic the Gathering, and doing so will help get this video and all the videos on my channel out there to everyone who needs the information. My name is Rita Spector, and I'll see you all next time.